Chapter 23. Turgon did not like wearing a splint upon his wing. It irked him and hampered his movement. The goshawk was highly disappointed that Sister Armel had not cured him instantly, giving him back the power of flight. He trundled about the abbey grounds, brooding and grumbling to himself as he shrugged his good wing. This bird never fly. Turgon no use to any beast now. Vermin, be glad of that. Armel sat on the gatehouse steps with Abbot Humble and the Brigadier, watching the hawk. Humble felt a certain sympathy with the wounded bird.
Poor Turgon. It must be very hard for him, being grounded like that. I wish I could help him in some way.
Sister Armel, however, did not share Humble's view. I'll tell you, that bird's trouble, Father. He's got no patience at all. Oh, he'll fly again, I'm sure. The wing just needs a lot of rest, then plenty of exercise. The Brigadier polished his monocle.
I've seen some of my hares acting like that after they'd been injured. That chap needs something to occupy his mind and make him feel jolly well useful again, what?
Armel sighed wearily. I've tried everything I could think of. I made Turgon a sick bay assistant, but all he did was eat the rest of my candied chestnuts and lay on the beds. Then I introduced him to Friar Gleeson as a kitchen helper. He said the kitchens were too hot and he couldn't breathe. Next came a spell with Elba Molewife, minding Dibbons, but he was short-tempered and frightened the little ones. So, Brigadier, what would you do with that goshawk?
Crumshaw toyed with his moustache. I see what you mean, sister. What to do with a chap? I've just thought of the very thing. Discipline.
He rose smartly and paced off, wagging his swagger stick.
I say, you there, Turfle, or whatever your flippin' name is. Come with me. Liven yourself up now, laddie, bird. I've got a job for you. What?
The hawk's gold-rimmed eye glared icily at the Brigadier.
This bird be named Turgon. What job you have,
Crumshaw marched up the west wall steps, explaining as he went.
Rampart sentry, ideal for a bird like yourself, what? No beast has an eye as jolly well sharp as a hawk. Eyes like a hawk. You've heard the expression, what? Need some beast I can rely on to patrol these wall tops regular. Keep an eye out for those confounded vermin should they come skulking about. Well, are you up to the task, or what? What?
Crumshaw was forced to back off a pace as the goshawk advanced. For a moment the hare thought Turgon was about to attack him. Then the wonder occurred. Turgon raised his good wing and saluted, his chest swelling proudly.
Brigadier, what is right? This bird have good eyes. See all. Turgon will do job for Brigadier what?
The hawk ambled along the wall top to the south, stopping at each space between battlements and peering down avidly. The other hares on wall-top guard kept well out of the fierce-looking goshawk's way. Crumshaw stumped down the gatehouse steps and resumed his seat with Humble and Armel.
Well, he seems to be fairly happy up there. Peculiar blighter, though. Seems to think my name's Brigadier What. Can't think how that notion got into his head, can you, Father?
Humble was hard put not to burst out laughing.
What? I've no idea at all, Brigadier.
3 of the hare wall guards excused themselves as they came hurrying down the steps. The Brigadier rose indignantly.
Just a tick? Where the dickens do you think you're off to, what?
Young Flumity threw him a hasty salute.
Begging pardon, sir, but that bird chased us from our post. Said he didn't need us because he could see everything.
The monocled eye halted the trio where they stood.
Oh, did he indeed? You 3 shrinking violets take that as an excuse to disobey orders, what? Now get back up there to your post at the double, and if you get any blinking arguments from that bird, tell him it's me, Brigadier What, who's giving the orders round here.
A moment later, the hawk was leaning over the parapet, calling down to Crumshaw.
Yika! They stay up here with this bird. I teach them to stand watch proper. You right, Brigadier What?
Giggles of uncontrolled glee greeted this announcement. Crumshaw rose huffily and marched off, muttering,
Must see what the grubsniggers have cooked up for afternoon tea. Brigadier What indeed. Who ever heard of such foolishness? What?
Captain Zerrig and his vermin watched the abbey walls from the tree fringe beyond the sward which fronted the south wall. Frita, the mate of slain Captain Shard, crouched alongside Zerrig. She viewed the high red sandstone construction doubtfully. If we were birds, 'twould be easy to fly over this was. Zerrig replied as he studied the situation. Aye, 'twould be a hard task, but we must do it, of his Gulo. He will not want to hear excuses. The vixen spat viciously. Speak not to me of that savage. Shard might yet have been alive if it were not for Gulo. But but I will have my revenge some day, I swear it. Zerrig chewed on a milky stem of grass. Brave words, Frita, but 'tis not likely that Gulo will ever be defeated by any beast, or even 10 beasts. Forget him for now. Our problem lies before us. What would thy mate Shard have done if he were here? I recall he was ever a crafty and wise captain. Frita dropped her voice so the rest of the vermin could not hear. I am as sly as a Shard. He often came to me for counsel. I think we should wait until dark, then send 2 reliable beasts to scout the place for openings. Zerrig looked at Frita with a new-found respect. A sensible plan. But which ones would you send? After casting an eye over the vermin warriors, she beckoned forth too. Fakil, Gretu, attend Captain Zerrig, he will speak with you. 2 big, white, well-armed foxes crept forward. Zerrig eyed them approvingly. When darkness falls, I want you to scout around the outside of this place. See if you can find any weaknesses, a spot where we might enter in secret. Both foxes merely nodded, then went back to rest among the trees. Frita whispered to Zerrig, They are a silent pair, but good, more reliable than ermine. Zerrig lay back, closing his eyes and enjoying the sun. We will see. The 2 hares, Cartwheel and Folderon, were pacing the north wall together, as far away from the goshawk as they could get. Cartwheel's stomach made an ominous rumble. He held a paw to his mouth politely. Pardon me, time for afternoon tea, ain't it? I'm famished. Folderon peered expectantly at the abbey door. Chin up, we should be getting relief soon. Oh, corks, what's that flipping hawk want now, eh? Turgon was signalling to them from the south wall, waving his good wing to attract their attention. Cartwheel groaned. Another one of his confounded lectures about having eyes as sharp as a hawk, probably. Come on, we'd best stroll over there, or the nuisance won't give us a moment's peace. They marched along to the west wall, calling to the goshawk. Not to fret, old lad, are we keeping the old peepers peeled? Rather, not missing a bally thing. Turgon glared at them. Hush, you be hushed. Folderon dropped her voice. Why, what's up? Tapping his talons on the south parapet, the goshawk whispered, Sure, you stand here, don't move. This bird must go speak with what? He stumped off down the steps, leaving both young hares bewildered and rather indignant. Cartwheel's ears stood rigid. Well, of all the blooming cheek, where does he think he's off to, leaving us here like 2 frogs in a flipping bucket? Folderon watched the hawk hop-skipping off over the lawns. Stole a march on us there? Crafty old featherbag. I bet he's gone for afternoon tea. Brigadier Crumshaw and Sergeant Onewell were taking tea in the great hall with Burlop and Abbot Humble when Turgon came hurrying in. Onewell looked up from spreading a scone with green-gage preserve. Looks like the hawk has something to report, sir. Crumshaw put aside his beaker of mint and rose-hip tea. Hawk-eyed sentry, what? Everything's hunky-dory in the ramparts, old chap, what? Turgon helped himself to an almond slice. Crack! Everything not honky-donkey. What? Vermin are outside. Good job you got eyes of hawk to see them. Crumshaw came promptly upright, moustache bristling. Vermin, you say? How many? Where? When? Where did you spot them? Eh, what? Turgon preened his feathers calmly. What? Not get ears in flap. Listen to this bird. In trees by south wall I see vermin hiding. Ah! They think no beast. No, they there. Ah! I spot white fur. Easy. No hurry. Vermin just hiding. Resting. Not attack. Not do anything. Yet. I think maybe 20, maybe 50. Humble stared anxiously at the brigadier. What do you suggest we do, friend? The old campaigner regained his composure. Nothing for the moment, father. The bird's right. They won't attack right off in broad daylight, eh, Sergeant? Onewell put aside his scone. Aye, sir. They'll wait until night time. I'd better get our lot on the alert. Crumshaw cautioned Humble and Burlop. Not a peep to your red wallers. Mum's word. Don't want a few score rascals upsetting peaceful creatures. We can deal with the blighters, believe me. Turgon grabbed some scones and another almond slice. Ah! This bird go back on wall top. I watch vermin close, but they not know I spy on them. Crumshaw picked up his swagger stick. Very good, Sergeant. Turn the troops out, slings and bows and arrows. Tell them to keep their ears down below the battlements. Don't want the enemy to know we're aware of their presence yet. We'll be ready when they make a move, Father. I suggest you keep the red wallers indoors for the rest of the day, and more especially the night. What? Humble nodded to his young cellar hog.
Come on, Burl, let's find Brother Dimple. He'll help us to get every beast inside, or they'll think it strange being called in on such a fine afternoon.
Burlop lent the abbot his paw for support.
Then we'll have to think of an idea further, something to make them want to be indoors. What about some sort of contest with prizes for the winners?
The abbot brightened up.
An excellent scheme, Burlop. Do you know, it's been a while since we had a riddle competition. That's always good fun.
The young cellar hog guided his abbot outdoors.
I've got a keg of strawberry fizz we can use, and I'll ask Fire Gleeson to bake up some goodies. We'll hold the contest down in Cavern Hall.
One will watch them trundling paw in paw across the green.
A riddle competition, eh? I'd like to have a go at that, sir.
Crumshaw breathed on his monocle and polished it.
Oh, for the carefree life, Sergeant, but duty calls, eh?
The craggy-faced one-will saluted.
Indeed it does, sir.
Westering sunrays painted the walls of the abbey like a deep blushing rose in the lengthening shadows. Larks trilled their evening song as they descended to the flatlands beyond the ditch. All around the ramparts, hares crouched below the battlements, bows and slings close to paw. Young Falderon sniffed and wiped a paw across her eyes. The sergeant nudged her lightly.
Now then, Missette, what's all this?
She blinked furiously.
Beg pardon, sir, but I was just thinking, what a glorious sundown. Day ending and all that. A pack of vermin villains waiting and hiding. Makes you wonder how many of us live to see the dawn. If the worst comes to the worst, if you know what I mean.
The kindly one-will passed her his handkerchief.
No, I don't think much will happen tonight, young un. You'll still be able to stuff your face at breakfast tomorrow. Now try up and stop reddening those pretty eyes.
Down in Cavern Hall, the Redwallers were eagerly watching Sister Screeve, who had devised most of the riddles, questioning Hithion Jem.
Now, I want you to tell me who'd be saying this. Why, Myrtle, me dear. Ouch, hush, how nice to see you. Hush. Likewise, dearie. Hush. How's your family? Hush, hush.
Jem answered each without question. Jem answered without hesitation.
That's two old hedgehog wives hugging each other.
Screeve ticked her parchment. Correct. Now stand over there, Jem. Next, please. Much the mole babe strode boldly up.
You know, Mum, you don't know he's getting the old riggles, only he's in for infants.
Screeve gave the mole babe a pretend growl. I don't have any favourites. My questions are all hard. Right, answer this. You're a mole, and he isn't a mole. He's not your father, yet you call him father. Who is he? Mudge stood gnawing his digging claw. Sister Armel whispered in the mole babe's ear. He grinned, replying,
That yuppies ever me.
The recorder ticked her scroll. Very good. We all call the abbot by the title father. Correct. Stand over there. Mudge waved at Humble.
I don't tell fathers, all his cosy haber doesn't know you.
Humble smiled absent-mindedly as he murmured to Burlop,
It should be almost dark outside now.
The young cellar hog patted his elder's paw.
Don't worry your head, father. The long patrol will take care of everything. Come on, up you go. It's your turn.
Here's your riddle, father. Sister Screeve chuckled, then continued, Oh, I've got this name all mixed up. It says, Read well, baby, on my parchment. What should it say? Humble looked distracted. His mind was on the vermin and the hares outside.
Yeah, but sorry, sister, I've got no idea.
Armel encouraged him.
Oh, come on, father, it's easy. What do we call this lovely place where we live?
Humble answered without thinking.
Redwall Abbey. Why?
Wandering Walt applauded loudly.
Well done, sir. That be's the right answer is Redwall Abbey.
Screeve pointed her quill at Armel. Any more helping with answer, sister, and it's straight up to bed with you. The Dippins roared with laughter at the idea of an infirmary sister being sent off up to bed like a naughty babe. Darkness had descended outside. Captain Zerrick signalled the two scouts from the shelter of the trees. Go now and take care you're not discovered. Checking their weapons, the big, hard-eyed foxes made for the south wall in utter silence. Skilled at the art of concealment, they both moved like drifting cloud shadows over the grassy sward, using every hump and hollow as they crept towards the outer ramparts. Turgan murmured to the brigadier as he observed their every move.
They come now. 2 foxes. One will go to the left, the other right. Other vermin, stay hidden.
Crumshaw kept his head low.
Scouting the abbey out, eh? Sergeant, take Falderon with you and go to the left. Captain Fortington, you take Hartwell and take the fox on the right. I want at least one of the scum alive. I intend sending their leader a stern warning. Off you go.
Both Gradu and Fargill stopped at the south wall gate. They tested it and found the small wicker door locked tight. Then they parted company, searching the high walls for possible portholes to climb and checking the earth at the wall base for soft soil or possible tunnels. Captain Darren Fortindom was renowned in the Long Patrol for his skill with the sabre. He had fought honourably in many campaigns. Removing his claw, he watched Cartwheel easing open the locks on the small east wall gate. Fortindom slid out into the surrounding woodland, murmuring to Cartwheel,
"Lock this door and stay inside, young'un. Open it only when you hear my voice again."
Cartwheel gripped his javelin eagerly.
"But, Captain—"
Darren Fortindom shook his head.
"Those are my orders. Obey them."
Cartwheel barred the gate, then hurried up the east steps to join some others who were spread out along the wall top. Kirsty, the runner who had lost her twin, gritted her teeth.
"Me had give that scum what for if I was down there now."
Another hare reassured her.
"Don't fret, mate. The vermin ain't been born who could cross blades with Captain Fortindom and live to tell the blinking tale."
Fortindom still had the sabre belted to his side. He leaned casually against a sycamore trunk, almost invisible in the darkness, watching as Gradu, inspecting the walls, drew closer. He allowed the fox to pass him by a few paces before stepping out into the open to address him.
"All alone, what? You must be a bold un. Where's your gang, scumface?"
Gradu whirled around to face him, Curve saw in one paw and a short axe in the other. He began circling Fortindom, bared fangs showing in an evil grin. "A big rabbit all to myself. Such luck. I had to shed the sun I get down upon the beach." Fortindom drew his sabre and moved, countering his circle.
"Nah, you took enough of you. 100 to 8, wasn't it? Psst, yes!"
The hare captain moved like chain lightning, his sabre flashing up and across. The severed axe handle fell to the ground, almost in unison with the stricken fox. Fortindom wiped his blade upon Gradu and stepped over his carcass. Cartwheel came dashing down the steps with Kirsty close behind. They wrestled the door locks open and stood staring at the captain in dumb admiration. He pulled Cartwheel out into the woodlands, rapping an order at Kirsty.
"You, miss, bar the door. Come with me. Cartwheel will go round the outside in case the other one's running away from Sergeant Wanwell. We may be able to cut the vermin off. Stay lively now."
The hares on the west wall stood with Falderon and Wanwell, peeping over the battlements as they monitored the progress of the remaining white fox along the outer walls. When the sergeant heard the main gates rattle slightly, he whispered to the hares around him,
"Quick and quiet's a drill now, mate. We got to take this vermin alive. Stick to my orders now, young'uns."
Fargill the fox had his curved sword through a gap in the centre of both gates, using it as a lever to release a long wooden bar. Then, without warning, the gates opened, swinging inward. Fargill found himself facing a lean, grizzled Wanwell and 10 young hares. Instinctively, he turned to run, but Captain Darren Fortindom already had his sabre point to his throat.
"One move, sir, and he'll be crow meat."
Sergeant Wanwell knocked Fortindom's blade aside.
"Brigadier's orders, Mr. Darren. Put up your sabre, sir. This one's mine. Sentries form a ring."
Swiftly the hares made a circle around Wanwell and the big fox. Holding up his paws to show he was unarmed, the sergeant addressed the hulking Fargill.
"You're a big, tough-looking murderer. Come on, let's see what you can do. An unarmed beast should be about the right mark for the likes of a bully like you."
Fargill had his curved sword ready, but he pulled a long dagger from his belt, charging at Wanwell double-bladed. The sergeant skipped to one side, his clenched paw punching the fox's shoulder twice. As a result, the dagger clattered upon the path. With his numbed paw held limply by his side, Fargill let out a bellow of pain, swinging his sword back in an effort to cleave his opponent's skull. Woof! The wind was driven from him by a hard right to his stomach. The fox was bent almost double. Crouching, Wanwell delivered 2 hard uppercuts to the vermin's face. Stepping on the sword blade, the sergeant trapped it against the ground. He grabbed Fargill, holding him upright by the ears.
"Up you come, you old bucko. Let's see what sort of a shape you can make."
Fargill's fangs almost bit the top of Wanwell's nose, but the hare's forehead shot forward like a battering ram. Crack! Minus few teeth, the big fox lay stretched unconscious on the centre of the circle. Wanwell kicked aside his enemy's blade, staring woefully at Fargill.
"Ha! I was just getting into me stride when he goes and lays down on me. Vermin, no backbone, no grit, eh?"
The young hares applauded him lustily.
"Oh, well hit, Sarge. That taught the blight to a lesson, what? Rather. Big Clod didn't know his bottom from breakfast when you decked him. You must have a head like a blooming boulder, Sarge."
Fortindom stirred the prawn fox with his sabre.
"Nice job, Sergeant. But personally, I wouldn't saw me paws on scum like that. A blade's the only cure for vermin, what? Righto, chap, strike him inside and close the gate. I suspect old Crumshaw will want a word with him when he wakes up."
Down in Cavern Hall, Burlop had tapped his keg of strawberry fizz. He poured out beakers for one and all, while Sister Screeve and Jem distributed Friar Gleesom's fresh-baked pies and tarts. The riddle contest had ended with a unanimous decision that every beast should share in the prize. Abbot Humble was still looking worried and preoccupied when Sergeant Monwell entered, accompanied by several young hares. Humble immediately accosted him.
"Any news of the vermin attack, Sergeant?"
The veteran saluted smilingly.
"Bless your heart, Father. Ain't no need to worry. Brigadier says for you to rest easy. The emergency is over."
The home-loving abbot heaved a huge sigh of relief.
"Seasons be praised. Would you and your heirs like to share supper with us? There's plenty for all, Sergeant."
Onewell accepted the invitation gratefully. He enjoyed the unexpected treat as Dibbons gathered around him, explaining,
"Sergeant, we had a riddle concert."
The sergeant took Mimsy the mouse babe on his knee.
"You don't say, missy. A wriggle concert? What's that?"
Sister Armel refilled his beaker with fizz.
"She means riddle contest, Sergeant. It was good fun."
Perkle the hog babe climbed up with Mimsy, who gazed up at Onewell's leathery features.
"You know any puckles or grizzles, Sergeant?"
Sister Screeve interpreted.
"Perkle is asking if you know any puzzles or riddles, Sergeant. Well, do you, sir?"
Onewell was captivated by the Abbey babes. With no family outside of the regiment, he found the little ones an endless source of wonder and delight.
"Oh, I knows hundreds of them, Beauty. Shall I sing one for you? I ain't no great singer, but I'll have a try."
Humble intervened.
"Don't want the sergeant, Perkle. He's had a hard evening. I expect he's tired."
But Onewell reassured the abbot.
No, Father. Singing for the little uns, no bother. I'd sooner be here singing for the babbies than out there knocking the stuffing out of vermin. Right, here goes."
The sergeant sang an old tongue twister, which was new to the Dibbons, but all the older Redwalders joined in each chorus heartily.
"There once was a frog, and his name was old Glug. He lived in a log on top of a bog. He loved plum pudding and gooseberry pie. If any beast dared come near him, he'd cry, 'Frog, bog, log, glug, pudding and pie.' He'd loudly cry. What a horrible, horrible, terrible lie. Oh dear. To his abode down the road came a toad, bearing a load as she pulled and blowed. I'm tired of this bundle atop my head. I'm almost half dead, but I fit to be wed. Frog, bog, log, log, pudding and pie, he'd loudly cry. A bode, row, toad, load, hard dead, he'd be fit to be wed. What a terrible life." He took both her paws and pulled her indoors. She swept the floors and did all his chores. A bundle came open, 10 tadpoles jumped out. "Oh, good day to you, Dad," they all gave a great shout. Frog, bog, log, log, pudding and pie, he'd loudly cry. A bode, row, toad, load, head dead, fit to be wed. Dead, Dad, the frogs were mad. What a hot, terrible wife.
Abbot Humble patted the sergeant's back. Amid the cheers and whoops, he called to Onewell.
"Thank you, friend, and all your gallant airs. Thank you for everything, from every beast here in this abbey."